Blog Talk Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Laurie Smith on blogtalkradio.com. It is Wednesday night, February the 10th, 9:30 p.m. This is Child Abuse Prevention and Human Rights Abuse Prevention is Up to Us. It's a live streaming internet radio broadcast on blogtalkradio.com, and you can, you can always sit in the chat room. I don't have my chat room, with references or anything tonight, and I've just decided not to type any in there. I haven't had too many people sitting in the chat room, so. Yeah, I'm just happy that you can join me. We're going to continue on with the topic of trauma, and we've been talking Monday night and last Friday night about dealing with the effects of trauma, a self-help guide, and this is found on the website. It's SAMHSA's National Mental Health Information Center who put out the article, and it's actually you just type right into your browser there, http mentalhealth.samhsa samhsa.gov, and it's a great article, and we'll continue on with that tonight. So yeah, I'm just happy to be here. I'm glad that you can join me, and I just appreciate the support, and I appreciate all my friends out there who are listening, and thank you so much for being here for me, and just being such a great support in my life, and I just can't thank you enough. I got friends all over the world, Australia and the UK, down in the States, lots of friends down in the States, and some in Canada. I just thank you all so much for being here for me, because you just have no idea what it means to me, and I just thank you all, and I love you so much. And I have a guest call-in number, but I decided, because some guy keeps calling and bothering me on my show, that I would just, if you want to ask a question or whatever, let me know that you're going to phone ahead of time. I'll have your number. I'll know who you are on the switchboard, and I'll go ahead and take the call. It's just this guy keeps calling, and he's so rude, so it just interrupts the show. So I don't want to give him any time, because this is way too important to be messing around with somebody who's just being rude. So this is so good. I'm so glad you can be here. It's not a professional show. I don't have any professional certificates or counseling certificates, therapy. I'm not a professional therapist. I'm just a person who sits on Blog Talk Radio doing 10 shows a week, just because I really wanted to share the resources that I find as I'm searching out my own healing. And also, I'm a student at MRU here in Calgary, and I'm in between classes. I didn't sign up for anything for the next month or so, because I really wanted to take a break. I needed to take a break, and just my work wasn't that great the last class, so I thought, I'm just going to take a break and just do something else for a while. And so that's why I decided to do Blog Talk Radio, and I wasn't sure how long I'd be doing it, but I just feel that there's just so many people suffering out there with all kinds of issues regarding child abuse, regarding human rights abuses, domestic violence, you name it. People are suffering all over the world, and in North America we know. So I just thought, while I'm searching out stuff for my own self and for my courses in child rights and whatnot, I thought this is just such a great medium in a way to let people know that you're not alone, and that you can make it, and we can do it. We can work it out day by day together and find resources. I wish that I was a therapist and a counselor and trained to truly help people, but mostly what I am is just a friend. And if you need to get a hold of me and you want to just someone's shoulder to lean on, I'm here for you. And that's the thing. It's just so important to have someone in your life that you know that you can count on. And if anybody ever needs to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on blogtalkradio.com. Send me a message there, or you can connect on Facebook, just different places like that. So you can check out my page on blogtalkradio.com, all kinds of info there. So yeah, we'll get right on with the article here. And if you're under 18, you might want to listen to this with someone who's an older, like a mentor, counselor, a teacher, or someone in your family. If you have someone in your family that actually cares what you're listening to, just to sort of give you a bit of a help, like if you have questions, or let's say there was a topic that you just didn't understand, or you don't want to leave the show feeling kind of bad about things. The topics of child abuse and domestic violence, sexual abuse, really are upsetting, and most people find it very upsetting to talk about, and most people find it upsetting to listen to. And I always cover issues regarding child abuse, domestic violence, child sexual abuse, and every kind of abuse you can think of, because that's my goal, is to stop child abuse and stop human rights abuses. So that's what I'm covering. So if the topics make you uncomfortable, I'd really prefer you don't listen to it, and just turn it off. And also, if it's something that can trigger you, and you're suffering with, some major post-traumatic stress disorder or things like that, and that this type of information can trigger you, please don't listen to the show, because I don't want anybody to go away feeling down. This is supposed to be a show about education, awareness, and prevention, and just to share some resources and stuff. So that's all. I just want to make sure everybody's in a safe place when they listen to the show. So we'll get right on with it. We were covering on Monday night, we were talking about things that we could do every day to help ourselves feel better, and we had gone through quite a few. There was reading the following list. You can do something fun or creative, get some exercise. We went through all that. Write something, use your spiritual resources, do something routine, wear something that makes you feel good and stuff. And we'll go back to the rest of those. There's a whole bunch. There's a whole page of them. We'll go back to that. I want to start with the next article, which was called The Healing Journey. And you can read right along with me if you want to. Just go to their website, http://mentalhealth.samhsa.gov. It's SAMHSA's National Mental Health Information Center, and it's an article called Dealing with the Effects of Trauma, a Self-Help Guide. So we'll be on about 25 minutes here, and we can really do some real covering of this material. It's great. The Healing Journey, this is the next article, and I think it's so good. Begin your healing journey by thinking about how it is you would like to feel. Write it down or tell someone else. In order to promote your own healing, you may want to work on one or several of the following issues that you know would help you to feel better. So this is they're going to give us some advice here on how to go through our healing journey, right? From trauma or traumatic experiences. And it doesn't have to be abuse. People, trauma is just anything that happens to you that causes symptoms of, like post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, or fear and anxiety, things that were so scary and so frightening that it causes you to kind of go into it could be shock or just have some really negative feelings about things. And just about everybody can experience or has experienced trauma of some sort in their life. Car accidents, injuries, illnesses, sicknesses, death in the family. These are all traumatic events. And especially if you're a child and you grew up in an abusive home, or you were sexually abused, or domestic violence situations. Those are very traumatic, and I know firsthand. And so these things can really affect a child and how they will spend the rest of their lives. And we know there's so many people out there dealing with this right now. I know lots and lots of adult survivors of child abuse, and also I know lots and lots of people who are domestic violence abuse victims and survivors. So all I can say is, we can heal. We can learn how to heal, and we really should get professional help. I do totally agree with that. And I know years ago I should have reached out for professional help and didn't get it. And only recently have I really started to feel a real healing that has taken place in my life. It's only been about the last maybe 3 years. So, it would have happened probably a lot sooner had I reached out and got some professional help. That's why I always say that on my show. It is so important. I know there's good people out there. There has to be good people out there who can help people like myself and other people to get through these things. And not everyone is a bad person. To me, when I was growing up, everyone seemed to be a bad person to me. I didn't trust anybody. And growing up in my 20s, I still didn't trust anybody. And my 30s, no, didn't trust anybody. Now, I'm in my 40s, and I'm starting to learn that, yeah, I can trust people. And that, maybe not everybody. But you have to use your gut instincts and know to listen to your inner voice saying whether or not this person's going to be trustworthy. And then if you find that they're not, definitely don't find another therapist or another counselor. And that's what I'm finding. That the advice out there is that if you find a therapist who's not working for you and it just doesn't seem to click with you, or isn't respectful of what you're going through and doesn't seem to care about the issues in your life that are surrounding this trauma, then you need to find another one. That's what they were saying. Just keep looking till you find one. So I think that's what we have to do. We have to be really proactive and keep looking and searching for our healing, right? So I'll start reading right from the page here. It says, learn to know and appreciate your body. Your body is a miracle. Focus on different parts of your body and how they feel. Think about what that body part of your body does for you. Go to your library and review books that teach you about your body and how it works. I guess that would be if you have a negative image of your body, right? Which for years I did. I had a lot of self-loathing. I hated my body and I hated myself. So, it took me a long time to work around to the fact that, no, I love myself. I love my body. I love who I am. But I didn't always feel that way, and I know what it's like to be on the other end of that, right? Set boundaries and limits that feel right to you. In all relationships, you have the right to define your own limits and boundaries so that you feel comfortable and safe. Say no to anything you don't want. For instance, if someone calls you 5 times a day, you have the right to ask them to call you less often, or even not to call you at all. If someone comes to your home when you don't want them to be there, you have the right to ask them to leave. Think about what your boundaries are. They may differ from person to person. You may enjoy it a lot when your sister comes to visit, but you may not want a visit from your brother or a cousin. You may not want anyone to call you on the phone after 10 p.m. Expect and insist that others respect your boundaries. And I think, when we grow up, especially I'm going to mention here with, child abuse and stuff, domestic violence, anybody who's been abused knows that the boundaries are crossed. And if you didn't grow up in a home where there was proper boundaries set, you don't even know what the boundaries are. I had unwanted sexual touching and stuff from people that because I was abused as a child, that I didn't know how to say no. So I didn't know that I should even say no, and so I was molested by more than one person. So it's really sad. It does happen, and when the boundaries are crossed, it's not your fault. It's just the fact that as an adult, we have to learn how to set these boundaries and really know what the boundaries are and what's comfortable for us. And then, set those boundaries and then stand by them. Now I know and I say, I will not allow anyone to abuse me. So ever again. So, that's my right. And that's what I hope that everybody will do. And especially as an adult, right? As children, you don't have much choice. But you certainly can stick up for yourself and call 1-800-4-CHILD or call, the kids' help phones. If you're being abused and stuff, you have to make the phone calls. Do not be abused. It's really sad that this is going on, and we have rights. We have human rights, and if you know someone or suspect someone's being abused, you got to make the phone call because it's not something to mess around with. You could save a life. So learn to be a good advocate for yourself. Ask for what you want and deserve. Work toward getting what you want and need for yourself. If you want to get more education for yourself so you can do work that you enjoy, find out about available programs and do what it is you need to do to meet your goal. If you want your physician to help you find the cause of physical problems, insist that he or she do so, or refer you to someone else. When you are making important decisions about your life, like getting or staying married, going back to school, or parenting a child, be sure the decision you make is really in your best interest. So that's something to ponder, to make sure that we are advocating really for ourselves, and that, we know we have to take a look at ourselves to know what we want and what we deserve, and work towards getting those things, right? And then work towards whatever it is that we want in our lives, and then actually make a real positive, proactive approach to it. And I think, writing stuff down is really important. I know I started doing that. I started writing down things that were like pros and cons for jobs. If I thought of a type of job that I wanted to do, I would write all the pros down for it, things that were good about it, and then I would write all the negatives about it and say, well, this whole aspect I don't like, but then look at all the positive stuff, and then I could help weigh it out. So we can do that in our own lives too with relationships. We can write down what we want in a relationship, pros and cons to certain certain people or whatever. If you're just not sure about someone and you're finding that you might be falling in love or something, and it could they could ask you to marry them or whatever, you could really sit down and think about what you want in your life, first of all, and what you need and what you deserve to have. And really it's so important because a lot of times we don't do that, and then we end up in a situation where it's too late, and or we have to work to get out of this relationship, or we have to work to get these different jobs because we didn't think about it ahead of time. So I guess it's just good to be looking at what we really want and what we think that we deserve, right? So, and then work towards it. Goals. I always like to set goals, and it's so important. I've had lots of people like mentors in my life tell me that, and this would not come from my parents for sure, but it came from teachers and people's parents. My other friends' parents and stuff would tell me that, and it really sunk in. I was like, yeah, well, I guess, because I had never thought of it before. So yeah, goals. It's a good idea. And you don't want to set goals that are too high to achieve, because then you just be depressed when they don't get there as quick as you thought. It's good to set some short-term goals along with the bigger goals, like the 5-year goals or something. It's a good idea to set some short-term goals that might be really achievable within, a week or two or even 6 months. And then when you get there, you think, yes, I did it. And it's a real positive, empowerment type thing, like, right on, I got that goal, and now I can move on to the next one. It gives you something to feel good about, and then then you can concentrate on the next thing. So I think that's a good idea. That's just me throwing that in there. Build your self-esteem. You are a very special and wonderful person. I love this. I love this article. You deserve all the best things that life has to offer. That is so good, because we do. And remind yourself of this over and over again. Go to the library and review books on building your self-esteem. Do some of the suggested activities. That's a good idea, because libraries are full of good self-help books and stuff. And if we can't afford to buy them, we could just go to the library and just read them. Even if we can't check them out, just read them right there if they have them in on the shelves. And or maybe go to a thrift store, like those dollar stores where not dollar stores, but the bookstores where they sell used books. Maybe find stuff there, because that's what I do. I go scouring for the books that are really a good price really first, before I go buy a brand new book, because they're so expensive, right? And just self-affirmations, right? I mean, I used to not like myself, and so I hated myself actually, and I hated life, and I started to realize, after a while, something caused me to see myself differently, and I tried to pinpoint exactly what it was, but it just happened, and all of a sudden I started to see, no, I don't deserve to feel this way, and I really, what's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with me, but what happened to me was not my fault, and so it's not my fault that happened, and I started to learn to love myself, and it took me time to do that, and I always loved certain things about myself, but I didn't love myself. So, I had to work through that and remind myself that, yeah, I do count, I do matter, and that's why I put on my website, you do count and you do matter. And so I just love that part. You are a very special and wonderful person. I think that's so good. Develop a list of activities that help you feel better. Refer to the list in the section, things you can do to help yourself feel better. Do some of these activities every day. Spend more time doing these activities when you are feeling badly. So, if we're having a hard time, really running through some rough days, and you just don't seem to be feeling any better, we can reach for that, things we can do to help ourselves feel better page, and we can just say, okay, what are some of the things I can do? Have a bubble bath, listen to some good music, just whatever is on that list, right? So it's a good idea to develop the list, and Michael C. Irving has a great website, and he's got it's Child Abuse Monument. He's the founder, the creator of the Child Abuse Monument. He's also a psychotherapist and a sculptor, and he's got a great website at www.irvingstudios.com, and you can go on there, and it links to the Child Abuse Monument website, and there's coping lists for adult survivors of child abuse, and that's what they had in these coping lists, was things to do that you can have these lists, coping lists. And you can pull these coping lists out when you're having a hard time, and you can read your coping list, and you can develop your own coping list. Really, that's what they suggest, that we do that, because it's going to be, then it's going to be based on our needs and what we like to do, right? And then what you find enjoyable, right? And even just normal things like having a shower. Have a shower. Vacuum the living room. Normal things even can pull us out of a rut. And sometimes I find myself, not making time to do just the normal things. And I think, well, if I could just do something, anything, pay a bill, vacuum the floor, it would be handy, right? So this is just an idea, right? But the coping list, I think, is a good idea, especially if we need reminders that we need to If we're having a hard time that day, we can grab our coping list and say, what do I want to do on here that really makes me feel good? And it could be something like arts and crafts, painting, drawing, writing poetry, just anything that makes you feel good, right? And they go on to say every family develops certain patterns or ways of thinking about and doing things. Those things you learn in your family as a child will often influence you as an adult, sometimes making your life more difficult and getting in the way of meeting your personal goals. Think about the ways of thinking and doing things that guide you in your life. Ask yourself if they are patterns and if you need to change them to make your life the way you want it to be. For example, in your family, you may have been taught that you never tell anyone certain family secrets. In fact, it may be very important to share some family secrets with trusted friends or healthcare providers. Or you may have been taught that you must always do what certain members of your family want you to do. As an adult, it is important that you figure out for yourself what it is you want to do. In effect, you can become your own loving parent. I love that. That is so good, right? You can just parent yourself. That's so good. I love this because, like in my family, my mother actually threatened my life and told me that she'd kill me if I told anybody what was going on in our home. And then I did tell someone, and then she did tell me again that if I ever did tell anyone again, she would kill me. So this was an ongoing thing, right? She was quite abusive and very, very violent. And so it kind of scared me, and, I thought, well, she might kill me, but then again, she might not. But I just didn't. We were just told not to talk about it, so we just didn't. And I had certain friends that did know because my friends, we would hang out and we'd talk about what was going on in our homes. But the thing is so many times in your families want to keep all the family secrets in behind closed doors where people can't, nobody knows their business, right? But that's why abuse goes on. That's why abuse is allowed to go on because people are silenced, and so silence is really a bad thing. Especially when you're suffering, it's really a bad thing. So you want to reach out and you talk to someone, And then also we might have been told that we have to always do what someone in your family said for you to do, no questions asked, right? And my mom was like that because she was so controlling and so powerful. And when I was growing up, there's just no way I could get around it. So whatever she wanted, she got. So you had to really, there was no room for argument there. So you have to learn that we need to figure out what we want to do, right? And figure out what it is that we want to do, and then, as long as it's not hurting ourselves, then we can learn to make these decisions for ourselves, right? And reach out to people and talk to people and get some help. I just think it's so great. The next part they write here is work to establish harmony with your family or the people you live with. Plan fun and interesting activities with them. Listen to them without being critical. So that's good. So plan some fun and interesting things with your family or friends, or if you're not living with family and you might be living with just some roommates or something, you can plan some fun and interesting things. Listen to them without being critical. So really to develop a nice harmony and a relationship with people, I think that's really what it's all about. And so many times, we're too busy, or we're just too busy suffering or hurting, growing up, especially growing up as an abused child, or suffering trauma of any kind, like we were saying, car accidents or things like that, war veterans suffer a lot of trauma. People that have been, victims of violent crime experience trauma. Just about anybody who's been in any kind of bad situation has experienced trauma. People who have been through natural disasters experience trauma, hurricanes, tornadoes. People who have been robbed and stuff experience trauma. It's just the whole thing. I mean, everybody just about on the planet, I can imagine, has experienced some trauma. So it's sad to say, but true. So we can, it's hard because we're facing all this stuff all the time and then working all the time, so we don't make time to build these relationships. And I'm a perfect example of that. I didn't trust people. Some friends that I thought I could trust were not that trustworthy, so they're gone out of my life. And so what do you do then, right? Then you sit around by yourself in misery, and then it becomes really rather mundane, and you never get anywhere because you never get to talk to anybody. That's the big thing. I did that for years. So once I started reaching out, which has just been recently, I didn't know there'd be so much support. I had no idea. And as soon as I started reaching out, there they were, 200-300 people are my friends, and I just love you all so much. So I mean, that's just amazing to me, and I can't even express it enough. That for people to be sure and reach out, but you want to reach out to people that you can trust. And I really trusted some of these people. I was kind of watching what they were doing on their posts and saw what they were doing and how their heart was, and I realized, yeah, I can trust these people. And sure enough, they're trustworthy and awesome, and they're my lovely friends, and you can get some too. And that's all you have to do is open your heart up and let people in. I mean, it's a big deal, but you can always shut them out too. If somebody is abusive towards you and starts right away making you feel bad, end the relationship. I take no abuse from anyone. I absolutely refuse as an adult. I spent years taking abuse from everyone, and I thought, this just has to stop. And I thought, as an adult, I have the right to say no more. And so that's what I do. I actually insist on it, even at work. I will not take abuse from anyone, and so it's my right. So there you go. I hope that you would do the same. And so that's the only way this world's ever going to change, is if we do not allow people to abuse us, right? And get educated and become aware of situations and know, that it's just not right for people to treat people like that. And but then again, we can't go around abusing people either. So, in return, I have to walk the same walk that I'm expecting everybody else to walk for me. I have to be able to do the same. And it's not easy on some days, but you have to do it. So that's how we're going to, that's all what having a good life is all about, right? Is developing good relationships with people, healthy relationships, and really learning to share, trust, and just to share and be there for people, because they're there for you and you're there for them, and it just makes you feel so good to have this in your life. And I wish everybody could experience it. And I know eventually, if you just keep walking it out, you can. Work on learning to communicate with others so that they can easily understand what you mean. When talking with another person about your feelings, use I statements like I feel sad or I feel upset rather than accusing the other person. You may want to practice good communication with a friend. Ask your friend to give you feedback on how you can be more easily understood. So that's kind of good. You could do like a role-playing thing, like a practice session, right? It says you may have lots of negative thoughts about yourself and your life. Work on changing these negative thoughts to positive ones. The more you think positive thoughts, the better you will feel. For instance, you may always think, nobody likes me. When you think that thought, replace it with a thought like, I have many friends. If you often think that you will never feel better, replace that thought with the thought, every day I am feeling better and better. Develop an action plan for prevention and recovery. This is a simple plan that helps you stay well and respond to upsetting symptoms and events in ways that will keep you feeling well. And so there's some activities here. If you go on the website there, you can see there's activities there. We're going to go over these on Friday night. Barriers to healing, moving forward on your healing journey. I just love it. I love this article. Get a hold of me if you need some more information. We got about 2 minutes left, and I'm going to just read out some references and resources and stuff that I saw that I think are really great. There's Safe Alternatives, www.safe actually it's a hyphen, alternatives.com, and that is Self-Abuse Finally Ends. 1-800-DON'T-CUT or 1-800-366-8282. They have a safe blog, webinars, news updates, resources, journals, articles, books, lectures and facts and interviews, all kinds of great stuff on there. I love that website. That's a great one. Post-traumatic stress disorder. This is Michelle Rosenthal. She is the founder of www.healmyptsd.com, and she is 25 years PTSD free. She knows all about it, and her website is great. Links and causes, symptoms, therapy, different types of therapy, information, healing, healing tips for constructing post-trauma identity and stuff like that. She's a nice lady, and she's got some great information there. Be sure and check her website out. Suicide Crisis and Prevention. This is www.suicide.org. That's Kevin Caruso's website. I love that man. He loves everyone, so I just love him. And that's a great resource. Suicide is never the answer. Men Are Survivors 2 resources for male and female victims, because my friend John Schmidt, he's an awesome guy. I consider him my brother. He's the president and founder of this group on Facebook. Just type it in the Facebook search thing. Men Are Survivors 2. Resources for male and female victims. He put female in there too because he didn't want to discriminate. But he's a great survivor. He's a survivor of child abuse and domestic violence and abuse. The guy, he's a lovely guy, and I just absolutely love him. I'm a volunteer. I'm actually the Canada Regional Director for Dream Catchers for Abused Children. you can check their website out. Just type into your browser dreamcatchersforabusedchildren.com. They have an awesome website with lots of resources. I tell everyone to go there and check it out. It's a great resource, and there's lots of information there. And you can get tons and tons of info. And Safe Horizon, www.safehorizon.org. So there's tons of references. Get a hold of me if you need some. I'll be back on tomorrow morning, 5:30, for one abuse survivor to another. And I just hope you take care, be well, be safe, and reach out, get some help. Talk to you guys soon. Love you all very much.